seems like Alan Fox does more before breakfast than most of us dare to dream up for our to-do lists. Now, when I met Alan Fox, I told him that having a son write such a thoughtful foreword meant that he and his book had to be pretty special. I was right. Here today to give us the direct benefit of his thought, experience, successes, and mistakes, please join me in welcoming our commencement speaker, Mr. Alan C. Fox.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Good afternoon, graduates and guests. When I agreed to be your commencement speaker, I asked Yolanda how long my speech should be. And she told me that your class is absolutely outstanding, you're very good listeners, but she thought that even I could not maintain your attention for more than 4 hours. But I have good news. I'm going to condense 4 hours of inspiration into 20 minutes. I'm a little older than most of you. When I was a kid, Mom gave me a quarter and sent me to the grocery store. I would return with a loaf of bread, a bottle of milk, some cheese, a dozen eggs, a can of tuna, and a chocolate bar. Today, that would not be possible. Too many security cameras. There are shortcuts to life, and perhaps shoplifting is one of them. But it's not a matter of just getting from where you are to somewhere else. It's a matter of paying attention and enjoying the journey. The degrees which you have now earned, and which will finally be yours in a few minutes today, have value not in the piece of paper, but through the journey which began what may now seem like a long time ago. Your education at Phillips has been expensive, both in terms of money and in terms of your time and attention. What I'm going to give you in the next few minutes is actually part of a chapter from my next book, which will be out later this year, and it's CHEAP, an acronym, CHEAP, which I'll explain in a few minutes. In 1995, the Federal Glass Ceiling Commission defined the glass ceiling as the unseen yet unbreachable barrier that keeps minorities and women from rising to the upper rungs of the corporate ladder, regardless of their qualifications or achievements. It's clear today that the glass ceiling has been cracked. On January 15, 2014, Mary Barra became the Chief Executive Officer of General Motors. She was the first female CEO of a major international automaker. There are now approximately 23 female CEOs of the Fortune 500 companies, a crack, but certainly not a complete breakthrough. There is a lot further to go. I'm always more focused on solutions than problems, so I'm going to paraphrase a well-known statement from The Godfather. I will make an offer which the owner of any business cannot refuse. If you fail to hire and promote based on ability and performance, you're going to lose both market share and profit to your competitors who do. Competition today is fierce and worldwide. You're going to need all the very best talent that you can get. So instead of a glass ceiling, I'm going to focus on a glass staircase. 5 clear steps which you can use to climb to the top of your field. And they're cheap. First is confidence. Second, home. Third, education. Fourth, assertiveness. And finally, and perhaps most important, passion. Confidence is the first step. But here you have a chicken and the egg situation. How can you have confidence before you're successful? And how can you become successful without displaying confidence? The solution is act as if, or, as my high school drama teacher said, fake it. Remember those lines from The King and I? I won't sing it, I will just say them. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. And the ending of the song, the result of this deception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I was 35 years old and still felt like I was a kid, and I noticed meetings didn't start until I started them, they didn't end until I ended them, and I had to seize the initiative and have the confidence to start and end meetings. You should follow the advice of Lazio Bach, who is in charge of all hiring at Google. Show your potential employer or customer the value which you offer. And when you do that, exude confidence. Few of us have ever landed a date starting with, I don't suppose you'd like to go out with me. A few years ago, I met Howard, a man who had built more than 60 Walmart stores over the years. I asked him how he got started. Good question, he said. Many years ago, I found two sites which I thought would appeal to Walmart. I tied them both up and pestered the head of real estate for Walmart until he came out to take a look. He liked both locations and offered to buy them from me at a $1 million profit. I told him that I wanted to build the stores and lease them to Walmart, not just sell the light locations at a profit. You have no experience, he said. We rely on contractors who have already brought in products on time and at or under budget. Howard told him, tell you what, let me build the first location for you. If I'm not on time and at or under budget, you can buy both sites from me at my cost and save Walmart $1 million. The Walmart head of real estate agreed. Howard had placed his foot on the first step of the glass staircase, confidence. The second step is home. In your life, you're going to have two psychological homes. One is where you live. The other is where you work. As much as possible, at least for me, my home has to be an oasis of tranquility and support. My favorite part of any vacation is walking into my bedroom at home. 3 of your classmates were kind enough to have lunch with me a few weeks ago. One of them told me he had quit his previous job because he found himself going to bed later and later each night, since he knew that when he woke up, he would have to leave for a job he did not like. So he quit his job and became a student at Phillips. For your home at work, you might ask potential future coworkers what it's like to work there. Are they treated fairly and with respect? Will conditions there help you to be your very best? I spoke with a young lady last night at a conference with Mayor Garcetti, who said that she went to the University of Maryland, and when she visited there, everyone was so friendly that she felt that was the right place for her, and she's now a graduate. The third step is education. Now you have completed your graduate education, but it does not stop there. I was speaking a few minutes ago with one of the graduates from 2008 who said now she had from Phillips the knowledge of where to get the information, but putting it into effect was still something that she learned every day. I like both town and gown. I like to work, I like to do real things, I also like to learn. And if you're out in the world just doing and not learning and thinking about what you do, that's a little empty for me. But if you're only in school learning the theory and having some practice, you don't have the opportunity, as you will now, to go out into the world and use what you know. As often as possible, I read all the articles which interest me in the New York Times. I've learned a lot by viewing TED Talks. You can learn from your clients, your friends, and your children, as I have from mine. I urge you to continue your education beyond this day. And after education is assertiveness. Remember Captain Miles Standish, who asked his friend John Alden to visit Mr. William Mullins to ask for his daughter Priscilla's hand in marriage. Mr. Mullins said, "Fine," and immediately summoned Priscilla. Her answer is well known. "Prithee, John, why do you not speak for yourself?" Not long after, Priscilla and John were married. Speak for yourself. Last month, I rented a booth at the Los Angeles Book Festival on the USC campus. And shortly after 9 o'clock on an overcast Saturday morning, potential customers began to appear. Lauren, who set up the booth for me, said, "Alan, you're going to have to talk to people. You are the author. They want to hear about the book from you." I stayed at the back of the booth. 10 minutes later, my wife, Davine, came up to me. "Alan, Lauren has asked me to get you behind the counter. You have to talk to people." I shook my head and wondered what had possessed me in the first place to rent the booth. At 10 o'clock, I whistled a happy tune to myself and began talking to my first potential customer. As the day warmed up, so did I. By Sunday morning, I was actually offering my hand and introducing myself. "I'm Alan, I'm the author," and I did sell a number of books. You have to speak for yourself. And finally, the fifth step is passion. Ludwig van Beethoven said, "I want to seize life by the throat." One of your classmates I met with had been a set designer for the movies. Her passion is to share her talents in art therapy. Find your passion, seize it, and follow it. My passion is to learn and to help others in any way I can. The glass staircase is available to you and to everyone. Climbing it is up to you. It's cheap. Confidence, home, education, assertiveness, and passion. A friend of mine, Trudy, founded Insight LA, a mindfulness center in Los Angeles, actually Santa Monica, a number of years ago. Trudy wrote that she studied with Maureen, a woman on the East Coast, for 11 years. During the 11th year, Maureen contracted cancer and was diagnosed with a short time to live. Trudy visited Maureen in Maureen's Cambridge apartment for the last time. And finally, Trudy worked up her courage to ask Maureen, and she said, "This is the last time we may be with each other. I've studied with you for 11 years. What final words of wisdom do you have for me?" And without missing a beat, Maureen said, "Live it up." So while you're going through life and making the journey, I think that you should also live it up. And finally, I would like to share with you the next to final chapter in my book, People Tools. In a few minutes, each of you will climb these steps onto the stage and receive your diploma. Those steps are even. They're spaced evenly. You're going to walk up them with confidence, but some steps in life are not as easy. I begin each chapter with a quotation, with two quotations. And in my chapter, Uneven Steps, the first quotation is from an emperor of Rome and noted philosopher, Marcus Aurelius. He said, "Look to the essence of a thing, whether it be a point of doctrine, of practice, or of interpretation. Henry David Thoreau wrote, "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately and see if I could learn what it had to teach, and not, when I came to die, discover that I had not lived." Davine and I had set aside the final day of our vacation in Jerusalem for last-minute shopping. But before we left our hotel, the telephone rang. It was Adam, a biblical scholar and our tour guide. For 2 weeks, he had shepherded us through the ancient monuments and unfamiliar philosophies of a timeless land. "You must explore today the historic excavations south of the old city," he insisted. We agreed to meet him at the Western Wall in late afternoon, not knowing exactly why. I was born in Los Angeles in 1940. To me, any building older than I am is an historical monument. But in the Holy Land, the concept of old takes on an entirely new meaning. Here, nothing was old unless it had existed for at least 20 centuries. During our travels in Israel, we had stood at the mouth of a verdant valley. Adam claimed it was the exact spot where David slew Goliath. We climbed to the top of the partially excavated walls of Jericho, a site that humans have inhabited continuously for 10,000 years. We viewed the Dead Sea from the high and ancient fortress of Masada. It turned out that Adam's reason for drawing us back to the old city of Jerusalem at the twilight of our stay was not archaeological. After squinting up at great stone walls and peering down to the depths of vertical shafts, which I thought of as earthen time tunnels, we found ourselves standing at the base of the southern steps to the Second Temple, which was demolished almost 2,000 years ago. "Notice something unusual about these steps?" Adam asked. During our days together, he had frequently challenged us with a question like this. Coincidentally, the night before, I had read about these very steps in our guidebook. "Uneven," I said. "That's right. Why is that? Were the people who built the Second Temple just careless? Did they use a bad contractor? Have the steps become uneven over the passage of time? Ground settled, earthquakes?" Adam loved to share his personal distillation of ancient wisdom. "So that we would think," I said. Adam had quoted the Old Testament throughout our travels. His opinions usually differed from those in our modern guidebooks, but this time he agreed. "Yes, most steps are even. You wouldn't want to trip on the stairs while carrying a morning cup of coffee up to your bedroom. And you don't want to have to pay attention to each individual step every time you enter a building. But those who built the Second Temple wanted each person who came here to slow down, to think before he acted, and to delve into the essence of life and what he could learn here." Essence. Was that the reason Davine and I had flown from Los Angeles to Jerusalem, survived on airline and hotel food for almost 2 weeks, and abandoned our final shopping spree? Was the ultimate reason of our journey simply to stand on these uneven steps, to slow down and pay attention? Was the heart of my life simply to be mindful? As Adam, Davine, and I huddled on those venerable stairs, brushed by the clamor of distant traffic, caressed by the silence of eternal dusk, I knew that life, at its core, is simple. At the center of the most elaborate puzzles in life, there sits a truest truth, the essence of the matter. I recalled a meditation class in which I had spent 20 minutes eating a single raisin. Later, in gathering darkness, we three descended the 2,000-year-old steps of the Second Temple, paying attention to each stride as the ancient builders had intended. With each step, I felt, perhaps like Thoreau, that in these few moments I had truly lived. Pay attention to all of life's uneven steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Will you join me for a moment, please? Sounds good. The President and Board of Trustees of Phillips Graduate Institute, in acknowledgement for a lifetime of professional contributions to the fields of business and human relationships, do hereby confer upon Alan C. Fox the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all rights, privileges, and honors pertaining to it.